reunion, calling every human. It's one for all and all for one.
Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me well. So I'm off to Amsterdam. Today I've been asked to work as a reporter for an event. The event is organized by Joint Roots, Joint Dignity. And so in this event we're going to talk about what it means to live in an inclusive society and how you can take your place in it. Oké, ik ben aangekomen bij No Limit. So let's go in.
Ik stel voor dat we gewoon lekker gaan eten. Dus iedereen die eten heeft. Wie nog geen eten heeft, komt er zo meteen aan. Geniet ervan. En we hebben ondertussen iets wat Sophie gaat uitleggen.
Yes.
Can you do that again? Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I'll translate a little bit. So welcome everybody. My name is Sophie. This is my colleague Malanta. I didn't think you introduce yourself yet like that, but so we coordinated this, and this is our last event. Dit is onze laatste locatie. Super blij met de opkomst uiteindelijk. We hebben gezorgd voor een maaltijd zoals beloofd. We hopen dat het zo meteen smaakt. Maar deze avond is vol met allemaal mooie dingen. Zelf meepraten. We hebben 2 gasten uitgenodigd die iets gaan vertellen. Vamba en Hélène. Die zullen straks na het eten kort met ons praten. En daarna gaan we gewoon interactief met elkaar in gesprek over inclusie. En hoe we onze Nederlandse maatschappij inclusiever kunnen maken.
I read a very good quote today. It's from Sarah Ahmed, and it says, well, what it essentially says is inclusion is to not be welcomed, to not need to be welcomed, because wait, I'm gonna look it up. So she said to be welcomed is to be positioned as the one who is not at home.
Oké, so you are. Het is eigenlijk al vanzelfsprekend dat je welkom bent.
Ja.
Dus je hoeft niet welkom geheten te worden.
Ja.
Dat is het idee.
Ja.
I was a refugee, and the first time I experienced being excluded in the Netherlands as a refugee was when I went to quote-unquote the normal school, because when you come to the Netherlands, before you go to the normal school, you go to a school to learn the language. That's the folks who told her, you should lick my shoe.
Wow.
So I was looking at this and I was wondering, is nobody going to say anything? And she was about to do it, so I stopped her and I asked, what are you going to do? You don't have to do that. So by doing that, I was immediately the other, because I broke his cycle of power, kind of. And because nobody else had the guts, I guess, to speak up against him, he turned the whole class against me. So then they found out that I was from a refugee, and they started spreading rumors that were.
My name is Vamba Sherif. I was born in Liberia. That is a country with a unique history. The first, be a pine at the top of the hill, be a shrub in the valley. Be the best little shrub on the side of the hill. Be a bush if you can be a tree. If you can be a highway, just be a trail. If you can be a sun, be a star. But it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Thank you.
Mooi.
Thanks voor je mooie woorden en de introductie uit het boek. En heel mooi afgesloten met Martin Luther King.
En dan hoop je maar dat iedereen in zijn kracht kan staan. Dus ik vind die oproep echt heel mooi.
Ja.
Dus ja, dat vind ik eigenlijk alleszeggend.
Do whatever you gotta do.
Do it
like with all your passion and
yes.
power and force and love.
Yes.
Met deze mens. Ja.
Yeah, thank you.
As you have added winning, my hero. I admire her more than Nelson Mandela, my people. Yes, I believe she is the success. Is behind everything that happened in South Africa, and people, the fact that they are neglecting her, I really regret, really, because I've observed when I read stories of great people that the sexism is so great. Yeah. Do you know that Einstein, that actually the theory of relativity is the whole idea was his wife's? Yes. And nobody is talking about that lady today. Yeah. Why? I ask myself, why are we not talking about Winnie Mandela?
My mother's hands never tremble. I used to watch her stamp solid roots of cassava into fufu flour with them. First, she did that together with my aunts outside. She stamped fufu flour from cassava roots with nothing but those bare hands of theirs and a wooden stick into an earth bowl. Later, when we arrived at the asylum seeking center, my mother stamped fufu alone. In our tiny trailer kitchen, fufu and isombe out of a plastic bag that we would buy at the local Africa shops of this new country. One could say I come from a long line of women whose voices never shake, rather shook the spaces they walked into, whose feet and hands never trembled, but mine, it abruptly started with me. I just shared my issue with anxiety with you, and that's where the trembling hands come from. That's why I'd rather not stand up, because my hands will start trembling. I think I tremble because I'm chronically scared of unbelonging. I'm chronically scared of unbelonging. I grew up not knowing what specific identity to subscribe to. A fellow writer, Ndella Faye, asked her listeners and readers a similar question 2 years ago. I read this in The Guardian. She said, I am a third-generation immigrant. I am a third culture kid, as they call me. Am I rootless or am I free? I developed this desire to understand the processes of exclusion that have characterized my life ever since that day. My longing for a deeper understanding of our identity and place in society is called acculturation. And acculturation is a word, one of the many academic words that I've been taught throughout my education at uni. And it is a sociological concept, but also political and psychological. And it describes what happens when a minority group joins a majority culture and loses part of its own. Christella, if I were to close my eyes, I think you are a real Dutch girl. So I went home confused. This is 5-year-old me. So becoming Dutch in a European context does not equal becoming white. Like my elementary school teacher thought. She thought that I had to look a certain way to be Dutch, but I already was. So becoming Afropean, becoming Dutch, to me means rather thriving within the geographic context we were given at arrival. So at arrival we were given a certain geographic reality, and we have to learn to cope, not only cope with that reality, but also learn to thrive through all those hardships. Today, as a political scientist and a journalist, I research the position of African descendants in Europe. So here's my truth. With a face estranged from the motherland and hands that tremble from displacement, here am I, daughter of the country of 1,000 hills, rerouted to the land of none, still here am I. I am alive, I am resilient, I am me, Munganyende. Acculturated, I have become Afropean. I am not rootless, I am free.
I know it's really hard to make changes, but two of us can help and rearrange this, cause you and lots of power in the voices. Together we will unite and make the right choice and fight for education. Save the next generation, come together as one. I don't understand why it's never been done, so let's change.
Decolonialization through radical self-love. And a part of radical self-love is part of being vulnerable in a society where I'm constantly told that I have to be stronger than I am. It's a society where I'm constantly being told the value of a self that isn't really a self I necessarily identify with and just myself. So I think in that regard, be as vulnerable as you can, but don't lose your mind for the cost of capitalism. Be as vulnerable as you need to be. That will ensure that stories like ours, which are very rarely told, are voiced in such an eloquent and beautiful way. Like, do us justice, but not at the expense of your own mind.
Als we in dit geval kwetsbaarheid koppelen, als we in dit geval kwetsbaarheid koppelen aan mannelijkheid. Dus dat is even gewoon om het als een vraag.
Growing up, where the difference lies in I am silencing others because sometimes I get very excitable and I want to be the only voice that's heard. I have to learn when the difference is between that or the difference is when this is a case of my black womanhood or the way I present as a black woman is intimidating to you. And I think the craziest thing is, like, sometimes because I'm not too sure until the situation is finished, I rely on the power of others to dictate that for me.
Het is super toepasselijk als ik luister naar wat er hier is gezegd. Van, oh ja, we zijn eigenlijk naar de kern gegaan. En daar kwamen we erachter dat we heel veel overeenkomsten hebben. Nou, de vraag is dus eigenlijk, wij leven in een samenleving waarin we niet per se die connectie dagelijks ervaren. Of het systeem is misschien niet gebaseerd op connectie. En wat hebben we nodig om dat wel te creëren? That's the big question. We hadden eigenlijk een stelling, deze. Het Nederlandse systeem is voldoende aangepast aan de huidige diverse samenleving. We kunnen even kort vragen, wie is het hiermee eens?
Okay. I come from a long line of women whose voices never shake, rather shook the spaces they walked into.